Hey, it's Scott. And what I want to touch on is simply blood bank bites. Specifically, the whole idea of giving blood to babies and kids versus big people. And when you're giving blood to an adult, as a rule, they're simple. You give them a unit. They don't look better, you give them another unit. But when it comes to kids, there's a couple things that change. First of which is, just like adults, when you give blood, what fluid outside of the military does it hang through is simply called normal saline. Number two, what size IV do you need to give blood through? And in the back of the rig or the ER, we were taught that everybody has to have an 18 gauge. And the rationale is somewhere along the way in EMS and ER lore, we were taught that if you try to give blood through anything smaller than an 18, maybe a 20, that blood's going to hemolyze. And that is not true. And the way we know that is simple. Take a field trip to the baby ICU. You'll see that whether it's in the back of the hand or the back of the head, we put 24 gauge IVs in our little babies and we give blood through it and it works just fine. Meaning you can push blood through any IV and it works just fine. Now, how long can the blood hang for? And that's just like adults, and that's called 4 hours. Once it's signed and out of the blood bank refrigerator, you've got 4 hours to get it done. Now, with that in mind, how fast can you give it is called how fast you need to give it. Meaning, if you want to put it on a pump and slowly drip it over 4 hours, sure. If you're crashing and burning, can you run it wide open? Sure. Can you put it on a pressure bag? Sure. Can you draw it up in a big 60cc syringe with a stopcock and push it even faster? Sure. So any variation from push to wide open to 4 hours on a pump, no worries. Lastly is when it comes to blood is simply where do you give blood? And it sounds like kind of a stupid question. You're like, well, I'm giving it IV. But especially in children, but also in adults, can you give blood via intraosseous, meaning into the bone? The answer is absolutely yes. And if you're sick as a dog, it may actually be your best bet. Because if you've got a choice of a very tenuous 24 gauge in the back of the thumb versus a little kid with a 15 gauge IO in their femur, you can go ahead and give a boatload of blood or fluid via the intraosseous route, and it works great. So with that, when it comes to babies, kids, or big people, that's your blood bank bites.